This course, I'm going to be showing you how you can create your own website from scratch. I'm going to be showing you all the different tools, the process, and everything that you need in order to build up and create your own web pages and get going creating your own websites from scratch on the internet. So one of the first tools that we need to have in order to create our web code is going to be an editor. So there's a number of different editors out there, and there's a lot of really good free editors as well. The one that I'm going to be using in the course is going to be called Brackets, and this is available from Adobe, so it's an Adobe product. It's also free to download. It's open source, and it's really customizable as well. So I'm just going to open up my version of Brackets and show you a little bit about how it's set up. So we've got our working window in here. We can also get a live preview of our content. So I don't have an index file yet, so that's why it's not allowing me to run that yet. So I'm just going to walk you through there's files, so we can set up a folder. We open up a folder, and then that's the folder that we're going to be using, and it's going to show up here on the left hand side. We can also hide the view menu, so we could hide the side menu. We could show that as well. So this is just used for navigation. And then over here in the white space here, we have an option to select different themes. So I've got a number of different themes loaded. By default, I'm sure you're probably going to be getting this Brackets Light theme. There's also a Brackets Dark. So a number of different themes, and if you do get bored of your current theme, you can always go over to File, and you can go to Extension Manager, and you've got options here to download and install a bunch of new themes. So it does have a listing of all the currently installed themes I have, and if I do want to pick up some new themes, all I have to do is click Install. So let's say I want this Tomorrow Night 90s. It installs it right away, and now we have access to it. There's also what's called there's extensions as well. So these extensions help you better utilize your coding, so you have ones where you can add in where you can beautify and save and so on. So I'm going to let you explore those and check those out and customize your editor as needed. And once again, if you do already have a favorite editor, you can just use that one to produce the code in the course. If you don't want to go through downloading Brackets, you can also follow along by using your text editor on your computer. So Windows machines will typically have Notepad, or you could download TextPad. So there's a few different ones, WordPad, and you can even write it within Windows Microsoft Word. So you can create HTML pages there. So as long as you're opening up and saving the file as an HTML file, your browser is going to be the one that's going to actually render that file out, and the browser is the one that renders out HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's all the tools that you need, and then of course you need a browser. Now if you don't want to download anything, there's a number of these really good online editors as well. So I can do something like, and I'm going to get more into the code as we progress through the course. So this is just setting up typical paragraph tags here. It's got hello world, and as we can see, we've got some styling here. So if I want to change the color to red, I can do that as well. And we see that it instantly shows up down here on the bottom side. We also have an option to change the view. So if we want to look at it where we've got our coding on the left, and we can see our display area here, our preview area of the code that's being put out. And the really neat thing about this is that as soon as you start typing in here, you're going to see the display here on the left hand side. So this is going to be another tool that you can use to create some HTML code. Although when you are creating HTML pages, this might not be the best way to go, because with HTML pages we've got some heading information that's included as well, and of course we're going to be showing you that as we progress through this course as well. So this is a way to practice your code. You can copy out your body content. From here you can copy out your CSS and your JavaScript, and I'm going to show you how to bring this into an HTML template in your editor and actually create a web page from your code right here from CodePen. So that's another option as well. And we're also going to be we need a way to transfer our files to our hosting account. So if you already have a hosting account, then it's going to be transferred through FTP, so you might be already familiar with that. I'm going to be using a tool called FileZilla. This is another free one that can be downloaded, so if you want to go ahead and download that so you can follow along, feel free to do that as well. Once again, if you already have your favorite FTP solution, then you can just go ahead and use that to upload your files to your server. Also within this course, so I'm going to be setting up a free hosting account here at x10hosting.com. So this is just a website that allows you to create free web hosting, web applications. So it gives you a subdomain here on the x10host.com, and you can pick any available subdomain. And this is going to work the same way as any other paid domain. Although, important to note that if you are looking to set up your own website, and if you are going to have a commercial website, the best idea and the best direction to go is to create your own domain name and pay for it within a hosting account so that you have full control over that asset. I know in the past, people have lost their domains going with free hosting or with cheap hosting. So sometimes you do have to be careful of that. And as long as you're registering your domain name, domain is going to be separate from the hosting, because domain names are just pointed to the server location that's hosting the files using a DNS service. So this is all done through the source servers and through the hosting accounts. So if you register a domain name, you can move it over to any hosting account that you want to move it over to. And a lot of the hosting companies will either do that for you, or it's available within the administration area of the account. And what we're looking at over here is domain.com. So this is a really useful website if you're looking to get a brand new domain. So if I wanted to register brandnewdomain.com, I can just hit search, and we're going to see what's available. And the really neat thing about domain.com is, so we see that brand new domain is taken. We've got some options from a different subdomains here that were main domains. So instead of .com, we could do .us, .org, .website, and so on. So a lot of these really aren't as common, and you do want to stick with the .coms if you can. So we can see here that there are some that are for sale, and if we don't want any of these, and if we want to go see what's available, domain.com also shows you which ones are available. So we've got brandnewregion.com. So we see that it's replaced that domain for region, so it does synonyms of the words and presents you with some really nice options. And I've always liked to use domain.com because they really do have some good suggestions. Most of the time when you do try to pick a domain name, it's going to already be taken, and this is a really good resource to check out and to just do some brainstorming and coming up with domain names. So this is another really good resource to use. And of course, if you already have your domain name, and if you have one in mind, you've set up your hosting, you don't have to go through this step, but it's just a good idea to keep this in mind if you are opening up and setting up your own brand new domain name. So this is another really good resource. And lastly, another resource that I'm going to be using within this course, and it's actually not going to be necessary in order to write the code. It's just going to help me display the content over to you and present it from my local machine. So of course, when we're writing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, when we click on it, we can actually, it's the browser that renders that out. So as long as you've got a browser installed and you've got a file named HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, your browser is going to know what to do with it. But if you want to have it nice and clean and presented in the way that your domain is going to be presented on your web server, then you can use what's called a virtual machine. And XAMPP is a really popular one that's used quite often. It's available for Windows, Linux, and OS X. And the way that XAMPP works, so I've got my XAMPP open right now. I've got it started, and what it's doing is it's got me running a virtual machine in the back. So it's a virtual Apache server running, and I've also got a MySQL server running. So I can actually go over to localhost, and this is running right on my machine, go over to localhost, and if I did have an index file there, then it would actually render that out as a path. So this is a way to do your web development right on your computer, try it out, check it out, and actually have it presented and see how it's going to look within the website without actually having to upload it and constantly commit it over to the server and send it over to the server on a regular basis. So you can build out your website and then upload it all at once instead of having to do it in pieces and trying it out and seeing it. So another really good resource, and it's just something good to have within your toolkit when you are developing websites, that you do have the ability to see what it looks like right on your local machine and get this simulated server feel to it, so it's going to look exactly like it. So in the next lesson, we're going to actually jump into some HTML code. We're going to start showing you how to create a basic bare bones HTML page and introducing you to some of the more common HTML elements that are going to be used within web page development and how to apply them within your website. And then we're going to apply some styling to that to really bring that out and show you how all of you can create websites from scratch just with some little bit of HTML code and CSS. So that's all coming up in the next set of lessons.